Ixchel, Suarez, we are at the Burlington Art Center. What is the name of the exhibition right now?
The exhibition is Murata and Suarez, Shape and Form, and it's a dual exhibit.
And how long is it?
It's going to be until June the 2nd, 2013.
How many pieces do you have in this exhibition?
I have 13 pieces, and some are large-scale tapestries.
Would you like to start with this piece here?
Sure. This one is it's called Fractals from Nature, and it's inspired in nature and repetition of shapes and forms. I have been more into patterns and shapes, like repeated forms, and I'm exploring also three-dimensional weaving techniques.
What kind of textile you have here?
Well, here I use silk, linen, cotton, fleece, wool, and metallic threads.
So it's more like a mixed media.
It's mixed media fiber, yes.
How long would it take a piece like this to make?
This took me probably 1 month and a half, probably, or a little bit less. And it's basically because I have pieces of tapestry in it, and then multimedia techniques like stitching, quilting, and well, basically.
When you work on your art, what inspires you?
Well, I love music, I love nature, and my previous themes were more into pre-Columbian and pre-Hispanic thematics. Now I'm into transforming my life, my world, so it's becoming more organic, and I think my themes relate more to the texture itself and what the materials can be transformed into.
The second one here.
This is called Air, the Texture of Life, and it became for an exhibition that was the theme Air, and it's also based on air. So it's weaving, it's tapestry weaving, floating techniques, and then stitched into tulle. But what I wanted to reflect more was the way the light goes into the piece and reflects it in the wall, because it's the air, right? The air in a textile form. I use silk, cotton, linen, flax, and Mexican like gird and natural pieces integrated into a piece.
You were born in Mexico. You are the daughter of a musician and a ballerina.
Yes.
Yourself studied dance at the Russian dance school.
Well, my teachers were from Mexico, but they were trained in the Bolshoi. My dad studied in Russia for many years at the Tchaikovsky Conservatory. So, and my mom was a pianist and a ballerina. So I grew up in an artistic environment, which was fabulous. And even now, to this date, I still reflect all my life through music and weaving.
So when you weave, when you work on your art, do you listen to music?
Of course.
Classical?
Of course. I used to play in a Baroque and Renaissance group. I played the flutes. And for me, the Renaissance music is fabulous. So I like all kinds of music, but when I work, I usually use Renaissance and Baroque music. Classical. I just love music. I cannot work without music.
So what attracted you to tapestry? Was it the Mexican tradition into fiber and textile?
Well, of course, Mexico is a leader in traditional textiles. I started loom weaving in San Miguel Allende, and then at that time, when I was studying the floor looms, came this exhibit of contemporary Polish tapestries, Polish contemporary art. I was just amazed. And this was almost 30 years ago, and it changed the course of my life, honestly.
This is another piece. What is the name of this one?
This is called Scars from Nature, sorry. Scars for Nature relates to all the transitions in nature that transform. For instance, in this particular case was a tree, and it's a piece of burned tree with a fungus, the fractals and the repetition of the barks. And I don't know, in this period I have been dealing more with black contrast. So
They're very powerful.
it's very strong, the
Yes.
contrast, especially with the yellow fungus, which was actually one photograph that my daughter, she's into photography also. She came with this image of the fungus where we were camping, and I just thought the shape was great for a composition. In this piece, I used metallic threads, and I used silk, linen, wool, and I integrated raffia and some other shiny spots. I used bamboo fiber, synthetics, paper. Here are some silk ribbons. And what I like the most is the gradation. Even though you mix all different materials, you can get the gradation very subtle into what you want to accomplish.
Does this one take more time than the other two pieces?
Oh yes, definitely. This is pure tapestry weaving. The warp, it's very close, it's EPIs, and yes, it took me 3.5 months, almost 4 months. So this exhibit took me almost 4 years to prepare. Just this exhibit. Mm-hmm.
These pieces are going to be also in Quebec this year at the Triennale.
Probably not all. I will take 2 or 3 for the exhibition, and depending on the space, definitely I will try to bring the most I can. It's the full series of nature inspired.
The next one here.
This is an interesting piece. I started exploring different techniques, like a little bit of fiber collage, weaving, knitting, stitching. And this refers to, the trees that are dead. They're still standing still. So this is where I got the theme. It's the trees die standing still. And it's all related to life and
It's interesting how you choose to make a statement about life using dead trees.
yes, the trees are still there. They're magnificent. Yes. And they bring us all the memories. It can be dead, but memories are still there, standing there.
Is there a tree that you like?
Well, the birch trees, I love the birch trees. Actually, the large piece you will see, it's 4 meters tall, and I think it's magnificent tree to inspire in, especially the repetition of the shapes are very interesting to deal in terms of design and composition. And what I have been trying to explore is the surface texture, not only flat weave in tapestry technique, but also all the different materials that can be explored into a surface.
What about this piece?
This piece is actually one of my favorites. It's a bark from a maple tree. So the transition of the colors was very difficult to get because each and every part has a gradation. So, and again, the black contrast of the shapes to create the composition. It was woven sideways, and this took me 4 months to weave, and it almost, not destroyed, but I had a very sore arm that had to be operated last year. So it was very tough working on this project, especially with my injured arm. But I love it. This piece I really like.
So you've been trying to work on this, you've been working on this exhibition with an injured arm?
Yes. I had an operation last year where they reconstructed the elbow. And previously to that, like 10 years ago, I was operated with my both hands for carpal tunnel as well. But this is my life. So I can tell you, whatever it takes, I will keep on doing this.
And it's amazing that without hands, it's impossible to do this.
No, and it's such a gratifying technique. Tapestry is a medium of vast possibilities that you can do anything.
somehow these pieces remind me of the Rococo style.
Yes, for the intricate shapes.
Yes.
Yes, actually, tapestry, the golden age of tapestry between 13th to 15th century, it was so renowned and so valued. Nowadays, in this time where we live in, very accelerated with technologies, there's no time for a technique like this, and yet people who are doing tapestries want to let the people know that it takes time, but it's gratifying after what you can accomplish, right?
What about this piece?
This piece is fracture, and well, I'm going through some issues in my personal life, and I think everything is reflected in your art, right? Music, could be dance, could be photography. So this piece was important for me to represent a fracture in terms of changes, and it's smooth, a touch. It doesn't have too much metal work in it. It's very organic. It's all natural fibers, and it has little intricate, dark, contrasting lines. Basically, that was the inspiration. Now, Inner Bark was a tapestry. Inner bark, again, it's a transition of a bark inside a bird and what is happening in nature, all the organisms that parasite and that take the lifeless of a tree and still bring more life to it. So it has different organisms in it, and that's why I use different materials. And for this particular piece, I wanted to explore more three-dimensional. That's why this piece is a little bit coming out of the piece. It has a stuffing, and I wanted to come out, bring it out forward, not only with materials and textures, but completely three-dimensional.
And it really gives you that feeling that you're in a forest.
Yes. So the interesting thing about this is even though I know where it came from, it's abstract and it can refer to anything. People tell me, oh, it's a horse, it's a lion, it's a tree, it's a river. It can be anything. You can relate to art with any shape. So that's what I love about what I do. Textures bring us very close to the pieces. I did painting for a while, but I think tapestry is a medium that explores surface, and it's very inviting. It makes you to touch. It's the closest thing we have on ourselves. Everything around us is textile. So why not explore art also in another way?
That's true.
Now this piece is Fungus Awakens, again my series of nature. And it's a photograph. It's a transition in my techniques. This is not tapestry woven, this is jacquard weaving. And it's another exploration I wanted to try. This is the only jacquard I'm presenting in this exhibit. But I thought the way that pixelizes the image was also interesting in terms of surface and texture.
And it does have a photographic look.
Yes, and the statement about the fractals and textiles, people say, oh, but nowadays everything's computer-based, and you press a button and you get there. But computers came from a jacquard loom, and the television and the screens of the monitors came from the jacquard pixelized images. So even they want to say technology is everything, everything is weaving. And this is again, you can see the black,
It comes
strong,
out.
the very strong black contrast.
And it's interesting how black has different meanings from piece to piece.
Yes, yes. Actually, I didn't notice, when you go through transitioning, at some point, everything, if you see my work previously to this, was very purple and bright and pink. And now all this experience of working through nature helped me find another way of using black for myself. And it was interesting. Black not only refers to dead trees, it's a part of completing the positive and negative and exploring depth. And together with the texture, I think it was working for me. So I started using more black this time. Okay, this piece is called Into the Marshes. And in my exploration of weaving, I'm becoming a little bit obsessed about what can be woven or not only the warps of my loom. So these supports, I started playing around, with metal wires, even bicycle racks, what can be done. And I found another way to integrate yarns in a weaving technique. So basically it's weaving like tapestry, where you cannot see the branches, and then it breaks up until you see only the nature coming out. So it's part of the series. And I used silk, linen, chenille, raffia, fleece, cotton, and wool. It's very, very rich piece.
I didn't know you were doing arrangements like this. Very nice.
So I was thinking that probably my next exhibit will be related to everything that can be woven. The technique I love. I will never leave tapestry, and yet weaving other shapes and forms can have other possibilities.
You have a very large piece here.
Yes, this is the largest of the exhibit. It's 4 meters tall by almost 2 meters wide, and it refers to the birch tree. It's exploring the surface of a tree through different materials in tapestry technique. And as I say, I like mixing all different kinds of materials. I even have Coca-Cola fiber, linen, silk, wool, metallic threads, bamboo fiber, jute, ribbons, and cotton.
So you used all this media here in this?
Yes.
How long would it take a piece like this?
This piece, it took us 9 months to produce. I rented the Joshua Creek Heritage Arts Center where we did this piece. And I had 2 weavers, assisted weavers, Stella Tang and Yamile Roa, for this project. And it was very interesting to work on. It was actually the first time I worked with someone else in one of my weavings, my tapestries. And I think we did a great team. And as I say, the magnificence of the birch trees just allows you to do so much in terms of surface, design, and composition.
Behind us, you have also things that look like trees.
Yes,
Trunks.
these were for roles, like installations, and I was invited to create. 2 years ago was the International Year of Trees and Forests by the United Nations. So I came up with 4 ideas for each season of the year. So this is the fall, and then we have winter, spring, and summer.
Which one is spring?
Spring is this bright green, and summer would be the mixed greens there. This is the winter, the white one. And it has light in it, but we couldn't put the light. And this is, it's not so woven, not too much of a woven piece, but it has patchwork and quilting and multimedia, like fiber collage. and metal. So 4 years ago, when I had the invitation to exhibit in this gallery, I wanted to reflect more like a full idea of what I was working in terms of surface and texture with the theme of nature. And through this process and these years, I have found other detonators like the fractal designs, the fractal ideas of repetition and forms, and how they relate to music and the beat of the heart. So that would be for the next exhibit.
I wanted to ask you, what did your parents say when you told them that you are going to be a tapestry artist?
Oh, they were fascinated. Started weaving a long time ago. In fact, my dad was the one who, he was like a Renaissance figure. He did photography, and he not only was an excellent violinist and symphony conductor, but he did many things. So he built my first loom. And in the loom, he was sitting behind me to weave together. So I think we had a learning experience, both of us.
So he learned to weave as well?
Yes, and we were just fooling around in the loom. But it was very nice to have the support of your parents with a creative career.
We have a small piece here. This is the smallest one.
Yes, it's the smallest of this exhibit. I've done smaller ones, but for this one I just wanted to play around with metallic warps and rigid structures, and also transferring images into fleece and see what happened. So it's a multimedia fiber collage where I transferred images of the birch tree into fabric, and then wove separate pieces of tapestry and then integrate them. And the fact that it's framed, it's because it's windows, birches through my window. And I wanted to see like a sneak peek, when you open your window, you see this magnificence of nature almost coming into your window, into your life. And that's what it refers to. That's why it's framed, and it's a window of nature. And also it detonated other ideas and possibilities by weaving through metallic structures. If you see, these can be very shaped in many ways, and they stayed because it's all metal. It's smooth in touch, but it has a very rigid structure. So that's what I wanted to explore in this particular piece, and I like it.
Mrs. Suarez, thank you so much for being with us today, and I will actually re-interview you in August. I will see you at the trial.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.